Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever in the world you may be, and thank you for joining us for this RBT6 playoff match between Aquilax and Coreagaming. We are very shortly going to be jumping into the map Veto between these two teams. Do you have a link for me, Kreitcher, real quick, so I can watch along? Thank you very much. Map ban. So, there are, for those of you who don't know, 4 new maps added to the pool as of this week of RBT6, bringing the total map pool up to 13. The 4 new maps are custom maps, Detour Ahead, Open Road, Dead Before Dawn, and what was the last one? Do you know? Carried Off, Dead Before Dawn, Detour Ahead, and Open Road. 4 customs added this week, and we are jumping right into the bans here with Aquilax banning first, and they do ban Dark Carnival, so possibly the most standard map of all has been removed from the pool, and is now over on Coreagaming side to choose their ban. And I think Rails has joined us as well. Rails, are you with us?
Indeed I have. How are you doing, Elliot?
I am very well. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing amazingly, and I am so hyped for this match between Coreagaming and Aquilax here, just going to, almost the teams that are going to make it to the grand finals. And that ban of Dark Carnival, honestly, first by Aquilax, doesn't surprise me whatsoever. And now we actually see Dead Before Dawn also getting removed from the map pool, this time by Coreagaming. No surprises to me so far for those two.
Yeah, I know the Aquilax boys fairly well as fellow Aussies, and I'll let you viewers in on a little secret here. The ban strategy for Aquilax will probably be ban a lot of the stock maps. Aquilax feel most comfortable on some of these custom campaigns, on some of these less frequently paid campaigns, and of course banning Dark Carnival is just the most stock map of all stock maps, and they followed up with a Pacifice ban as well. So we won't be seeing Dark Carnival, we won't be seeing Dead Before Dawn, and we won't be seeing Pacifice.
Yeah, and we see Downpour going as well, because Coreagaming might actually be doing the exact opposite of that, right? Because if they're more comfortable on the stock maps that way, they're probably looking for a stop map, and the folks are probably looking for a custom. So we might continue to see that be the direction. So far, it's only been custom map bans from Coreagaming and only static, like normal map bans from Aquilax. We'll see what they do next. But of all these maps, Elliot, which one would you actually want to see this game be played on, do you think?
I mean, personally, I would prefer to see us play a custom, a more off-the-beaten-path map, just because they are a bit more exciting, a bit more unique, things that we haven't seen many times before. I'd love to see maybe even a Suicide Blitz. I'd love to see an Open Road. I'd love to see a Die Scraper, something like that.
Yeah, and it looks as though Coreagaming are going from they're going from the maps that they want to play, obviously the least of the ones that they'd be okay playing with, but it's a third custom map veto from them in a row, as Carried Off has now also been eliminated. So I think this is exactly the strategy that we were just talking about, coming from 2 polar opposite directions that way. Carried Off would have been real interesting, but and there goes Parrish as well, actually, from Aquilax. So okay, no, this is so far true to form for both teams, and we've got Open Road, Suicide Blitz, and Die Scraper, plus Detour Ahead. If this comes down to a Detour Ahead game, I'm gonna lose my mind.
That would be fantastic. I would love to see a bit of Detour Ahead.
I would love to see it too, because the last time I remember it being used that deep into the playoffs, and there goes Dark Carnival Remix as well. Coreagaming continuing the trend. Aquilax also continuing the trend, immediately getting rid of Death Toll, and we are getting closer to that reality potentially of seeing Detour. But I remember for the Watch Left 4 Dead tournament back in, what was that, 2014, was when we saw Detour Ahead used in the playoffs there, and that's obviously a much different config nowadays, but that map is, I don't know, especially for a 1-game scenario, that is such a, I don't know, map 1, if you get wiped early on Detour Ahead, then you're kind of screwed, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, that produced some memes back in the day. I'm hoping we don't see any other memes from it here. And Hard Rain's gone, Suicide Blitz is gone, it's down to Detour Ahead, Die Scraper, and Open Road, so it is going to be a custom Elliot.
It is. Hard Rain, actually banned by Coreagaming, so it's changing up the strategy slightly here. Hard Rain is gone. Perhaps, obviously, Aquilax played on Hard Rain last week against YBG and had a very, very convincing win. So Coreagaming perhaps not wanting to give Aquilax a chance of repeating that performance, have banned Hard Rain, and now Aquilax have changed things up and banned a custom in Suicide Blitz. So 4 maps left: Detour Ahead, Die Scraper, Hard Rain Downpour, Open Road.
Yeah, I mean, between Open Road, Die Scraper, and Detour here, right? I mean, Open Road is also an amazing campaign. And Die Scraper by Rectus, right, has also been around for literally ever. And Die Scraper, personally, is one of my favorite custom campaigns that way, but Open Road is also super solid. Both of those were used back in, I think it was CCT3 for the first time, and they've just been played by the community now over the past, 7 years? to the point where some of them feel standard if you've played any number of scrims or team things. But if you're asking me right now which of these I prefer to see, it's very hard for me to go away from Die Scraper just because it's such a it's such an intense game that way on Die Scraper every single time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Die Scraper. I think Die Scraper and Hard Rain Downpour would be the 2 customs that Coreagaming know better.
Mm-hmm.
As we do see the ban on Detour Ahead, so Die Scraper and Hard Rain Downpour still in the pool. If I had to bet, I would say it will be one of those.
It's Die Scraper and Open Road, right?
Die Scraper, Hard Rain Downpour, Open Road are the 3 maps left, and we have 2 more bans.
I have Downpour on my screen as being vetoed by Coreagaming.
Am I lying? No, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, okay, it's Die Scraper. Yeah, because Downpour I would also love to see, because I love both Downpour and Dark Carnival Remix, but now we're actually deciding between Die Scraper and Open Road. Open Road, you could expect to see potentially a very high scoring game on that, but it's gonna be Die Scraper. Here we go, Elliot, and we got what we asked for.
There it is, yeah. And I think that's often how this sort of veto style plays out. If one team wants to ban a lot of the stock maps and one team wants to ban all of the customs, I feel like Die Scraper is one of the most common customs. It's kind of perfectly in that middle. And that's exactly how it's worked out. So we are going to be seeing 1 game LA on Die Scraper Redux between these 2 teams.
Alright, now, having played matches on this map before and playoff matches as well, the biggest thing on map 1 here, especially because it's a 4-map campaign, the 2 rules of Die Scraper to me are, 1, you cannot rely on the finale for a comeback. You just can't do it. And against a good team on a neutral server like that, if you have 2 tanks in their hands, you can't be relying on bonus on map 4 to come back and win the game that way. But even more importantly, and something I'm going to be super interested to see, Elliot, is where this tank spawn is map 1. Because if it, for whatever reason, is an early tank spawn, I'm not sure if that's been banned or not, but that can change the entire complexion of a game. If a team gets like a 400 or 500 point lead on map 1, it can be very hard to come back as well on Die Scraper.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that as far as I'm aware, there hasn't been any changes, so an early map tank on map 1 is absolutely possible, and it happens, let's say roughly 50% of the time. So it is absolutely something that these teams will have to be aware of heading into the match. As we are just hopping into server now, so shouldn't be too long before we are heading live.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited to be casting this as well, because these last few matches that we're moving towards in the playoffs, this is where you're really going to see the teams just try to play their absolute best. And those Aquilax and Coreagaming have been around the community playing regularly now for how many years? You know what I'm saying? Like this is if you wanted to see the best of competitive Red too, it's the teams that are still up in the tournament at this point. Yeah,
the winner of this match will move into the top 4. No, top 3, I believe. This is already top 4. Winner moves into the top 3 race. Yeah. So we are really getting down to the best of the best here out of the 70 plus teams that signed up.
Oh, it's been amazing to see exactly how the field has gone that way, and just over the course of a tournament, how teams have come together and how they've been playing. I think this is one of those matches where, despite the seedings, and I'll ask you your opinion on this for a second, because if I'm looking at this, especially for a 1-game LA Die Scraper situation, it's going to come down to which team actually is able to get the most damage out of the tougher tanks. Like, I'm looking at the open field tanks that you see on map 2 and map 3 as being a predictor of who's actually going to win the match. But who do you think takes this one home and moves into the top 3?
I'm going to have to go with my boys here. I do think Aquilax have the slight advantage. They have been on a phenomenal run in this lower bracket. They did lose a game early in the playoffs to WTF is Spongy, but since then they have been on fire. They knocked me out of the tournament, and they've beaten a lot of teams, and just capping it off last week with a very, very convincing win against YBG. I know, these boys they're hot and they're feeling hot, and I think that it's going to be tough at really any team to stop them in their current form.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Coreagaming, they played a hell of a match against Team Impact, from what I can remember on Death Toll, right? And that was a wild pick to see exactly how Death Toll was going to go there. I would like to see from them just a bit more cohesion than the last time I saw them play, because honestly, I think they probably could have locked that game up, depending on how things went. It was an amazing match, and when you have those kind of one games like what we're seeing here today, that's, I think, the point where either team, especially depending on how the SI coordination is going on ping like this, it can come down to just which team is able to balance themselves better. And from a chemistry standpoint, I think Aquilax definitely has the upper hand because they've been playing as a team now since 2016, 2017, if not before, depending on what happens. But Coreagaming can definitely do it. They just need to be a bit more even, I think, than what we saw from them last round.
Yeah, and I think, but we kind of have to base it off last round, which is the last time we saw both these teams play. As you said, Coreagaming had a very entertaining, very close game against Team Impact on Death Toll. It was a couple of 100 points. I think that both of those teams probably will have felt like they could have and perhaps should have played a little bit better, whereas Aquilax had a 2,500 point win and really made very little, if any, mistakes. So just purely based on that, I think there is a clear favorite. However, with that said, in a one-game LA situation, anything can happen.
Exactly. And when you have teams of this caliber, it has that playoff atmosphere where if Coreagaming are looking for the upset, especially depending on who they're running here today, starts on this first map with this tank at 63%. So it's not the ultra early tank, but I do believe this spawns before the survivors can transition out of the room, or it spawns right at the doorway there before they go into the parking garage. So this could,
I think it'll be before they get into the parking garage.
Yeah, same. And so if they have to fight the tank in that room downstairs where they have that table, it's really easy for the tank. If the tank gets an early corner for whatever reason in a situation like that with full support, then that's where it turns into a potential problem scenario for the survivors. But since, in this scenario, right, since Coreagaming is starting on survivor first, if they can make the safe room with bonus on this, they'll obviously be happy, because then that can give their infected a chance to go against Team Aquilax's survivor side of things. But on the special infected side, I definitely think that chemistry for Aquilax, I don't know exactly who they're running. Looks like it's going to be Discreet, DDA, Caution, and I'm assuming Dina?
Yeah, it'll be Dina, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lineup that has a super awesome amount of frag movie level coordination on the special infected side of things, you know what I'm saying? And it's because they've played together for as long as they have. And that's in Left 4 Dead 2, especially when they were playing against Where the Fuck is Spongy, or when we've seen them match up against Frag4 / Pubstars / Rehab in any other tournament, including the RBTs. That has been when, because they've played those matches and because they've just consistently been grinding the game that way, that's what gives them the advantage of running with a lineup like this that knows each other. And it's super important for the playoffs, because this is at any stage where if one team makes, especially on a neutral server format custom campaign, if any team makes a major mistake on Survivor side, that can just lose them the game.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This Aquilax lineup has been playing together, you said, for this particular core 4 is the core 4, and this is the team that's been the most practiced. They've beat Envy in a recent tournament on a one-game neutral Dark Carnival game, so I think this is Aquilax at really full strength at the moment, and I'm excited, Rails.
Yeah. We're waiting for or are we actually just
I think we're just waiting for a couple more players. We've got Dina still joining and one more player from Coreagaming. We can do a quick roster rundown perhaps when the last few players join. I'm not entirely sure who the fourth for Coreagaming will be, but I can definitely tell you and all our lovely viewers that the Aquilax roster is going to be Discreet, DDA, Caution, and Dina. As we have said, this is the main 4 for the past few tournaments that Aquilax have played. They're very well coordinated, very well synced team. They're consistently making top 2, top 3 in these international tournaments. The only team lately that I think they aren't favourites against is Envy. And frankly, being number 2 to Envy, which is an incredibly strong team, just says so much about the strength of these 4 players together.
So if you see, right, this gives us a chance to talk about the game that's coming directly after this as well. So for those who aren't aware, this is going to be an RBT6 playoff semifinal style doubleheader here as we move towards those kind of top 3. We've got this game happening in front of us right now, and then I think it's 3:30 or 3:35 Central European. We're actually going to be seeing the second game of the week being played between teams Where the Fuck is Spongy and Catjam. Elliot, what is your opinion of where Team Catjam stacks up in this Final Four?
This ain't gonna be cool.
I think Team Catjam, look, I don't know them as well as the other 3 teams in this top 4. Catjam is the team that I know the least about personally, but from what I've seen in some of their recent scrims, and again, I haven't seen a lot, I think they have been looking a little bit shaky. I think they're definitely going to want to tighten up some of their survivor play. I mean, any team versing WTF is Spongy is going to have a hard time. They are, the best team of modern era. I think that's fair to say. And so, Catjam, they did add Kimchi for playoffs. Kimchi is a phenomenal player, as we all know. Yeah. But I believe that the match is going to be on a European server. So if Kimchi is playing, he's going to be on high ping. So they can't rely on him for anything super amazing.
What's that? They're going to need to.
Yeah, I mean, okay, actually, they can rely on him for a lot of things still super amazing. I take it back. Kimchi on any ping is phenomenal.
Yeah,
but they're going to need to have their green ping players show up, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, well, and the thing is, right, with Thug Life and Josie, those 2 were the main, 2 of the main 4 on Team Lost in the Sauce, who won RBT4 as well back in 2019, and so I would not count them out whatsoever. Today would be the match where if they're able to beat Where the Fuck is Spongy, then obviously they put themselves in position for a completely, different way of looking at them and a realignment of where they are. But with Thug and Josie on the same squad like that, and with them having been there, for as long as they have that coordination as well. And speaking of duos from amazing teams, it's going to be Prove and Kane filling out the roster for Coreagaming.
It's actually, I'm sorry to say, that is actually
not a bait.
That is a bait. That is in fact Jinman. That is 4ZE.
Okay. So it's almost the NV coordination. Maybe his name being like that will help them play together better. Because if I'm remembering correctly, last week there were a couple maps where Kane had Kane was doing work in that Death Toll match.
Yeah, I mean, Kane always does work. He's one of, if not the strongest survivor players in the world right now, for my money.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is going to be the Coreagaming roster. It is going to be Kane, Anna, aka Razor, Scal, aka Rascal, and Prove, who is actually not Prove. It is Jinman Park, aka 4ZE.
Okay. So that's going to be the roster for Team Coreagaming, and for Team Aquilax on the Special Infected side, since I do believe the Spanish language cast is joining now as well. So I think we're waiting just a hot second until all of that is set up, because we only need one more person to join. But we've got the GLHFs going out. Never mind, we are going to be taking it live right now with the RBT6 playoffs Final 4 going to Final 3 after this game. It's going to be Coreagaming jumping down first, getting pounced with a spit going on top of that. Smoker coming in right at the end of I should say, with a 1-boom going out on to Nick for good measure, but Kane's going to be holding that W key, Elliot, and only about 21 damage on that first hit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a decent amount of damage for just one spit hunt. That was really the only dangerous SI there. They got a nice bit of spread. Aquilax did got a nice bit of spread. All of the survivors are chipped to varying degrees, but I mean, that's a fine start, I think, for both teams. The key is going to be this hit here. This hit on the drop is one of the highest damage hits in the whole campaign, and actually it looks like Aquilax is setting up for the second drop. What do you think about this, Rails?
Okay, so off that 2-2, we don't see a massive amount of damage. Kane's going to jump down, and he's probably expecting the hit here, but this second drop can be really, really difficult, just because the survivors absolutely need to not get separated down this long hallway, especially with this tank coming up the way it is. So this is going to be on the Shotties. If they can shut down the Hunter, or at least not have somebody completely eat the Charger, that would be amazing. And you see how slow Kane's going to be playing it, because they know this is a devastating hit, and honestly, of the 4 maps, this is one of the tougher choke points, I think, for any Survivor team to navigate. So early on here, we're going to see how well Coreagaming can do that, as Kane has dropped, going for the jockey, and the jockey does get him down the hallway. This is exactly what I was talking about. The Charger is going to whiff. They are going to clear the Hunter. Actually, rather, the Charger is going to connect with the jockey Survivor in the front for even more damage, but actually that somehow, Elliot, to me, isn't the worst how that it could have gone based on what happened at the start.
Yeah, I think that could have and possibly should have been worse. The Charger,
Should have been.
yeah, I mean, did he whiff? Was it intentional? It's hard to say. But the Survivors are pushed straight out. Look at this.
Oh,
aggression.
yeah. Oh, I really like this play, honestly, from Coreagaming, because after taking a hit like that, that was obviously not ideal for them. The tank is up in the hands of Discreet for Team Aquilax. He's throwing those R-Rocks over the white van, and the Survivors have taken forward. The tank has about half the room. Boomer is going to get shut down amazingly by Kane. Amazingly by Kane, because if a Boomer lands in this area, that is the easiest way to wipe, and the Survivors are getting aggressive on him now, as the tank is still continuing to throw those R-Rocks over the Survivors, almost over the Survivors' heads, but he's getting chipped underneath the van a little bit,
he's getting shot
too.
in his feet.
Exactly, yeah. So he's going to probably commit with what he's got next. It's a Jockey, Smoker, and a Hunter. I don't think he's going to be getting anything better, and indeed, Discreet is going to be punching. He's going to be punching that card directly in, and it's going to be on the right-hand side. Survivors are going to try to flush out, and now he's going for the corner onto Coach, managing to get him locked against the door, whiffing a punch because the Jockey took the target, and it's a triple cap going out with the Hunter and the Smoker in the front as Discreet has turned back around, but they manage to get the clear on the Hunter. Kane still alive, moving his way back as the tank is going to go for the corner onto Ellis now. That was a brilliant triple cap, and Kane is the last Survivor up as he's working his way around.
For 1,000 health rails.
He's trying to, and actually he's going to do it. He's going to do it. He's going to get out of that corner, and he actually might be able to go for a pickup here. This is absolutely crucial for Team Coreagaming, and it's not going to be a wipe.
Pickup.
He gets maybe it is going to be a wipe because the rock lands, the Charger misses, the tank is dead, Kane is still alive. I said something, people are going to have to balance out their Survivor roster a bit, but right now Kane is trying to clutch this in the best way he possibly can.
It's a wipe.
Jockey gets the scratch to stop the pickup, and then the Charger is going to land. That was a brilliant triple cap, Elliot, and honestly, that is exactly what we were talking about right before this game started. The SI coordination for the Jockey to take the Survivor down the stairs and then the tank to turn around on the double cap with the Hunter and the Smoker, that was picture perfect.
I mean, yeah, that was, something you would see, like you said, in a frag movie. Perfect 3-cap landing. Discreet, didn't quite get the corner. I think Rochelle was the last Survivor. She was able to get the clear on the Hunter. The Hunter was able to get the clear on the Smoker, but the damage had already been done. Kane nearly clutched it out. The tank had like 200 health, but did land the clutch rock. Even though Rochelle got revived, she got immediately jockeyed, and then tank was able to rock Kane, and at that point it was just too much to deal with. All of the spawns coming up with the tank, with the common. No other Survivors were up, and Kane wasn't quite able to do it, and they wipe. And I mean, Rails, I really don't think Aquilax are going to wipe to this tank. Pushing into the parking garage is good, and they will do it if they can, but they don't even need to. They can stay below, and I think they'd be perfectly happy either way.
Exactly, and the only real way I can see a wipe happening there is
and they're just running forward as well. They are just out of here.
Indeed they are. That Smoker isn't really going to be able to do much of anything. The Hunter is also behind, and the Survivors are holding W, but now there is going to be a Smoker pull onto the Discreet, back into the Spit almost. But now the Hunter and the Spitter are still alive. I think they're due Charger Jockey then, depending on how fast the Survivors go, but they're going to be Wing as fast as possible. What I was mentioning about the tank spawn too is the only way that I can see that going terribly for Aquilax, unless of course they also get triple capped, is if there's some kind of transition hit when they're pushing into the garage. I don't know if that's what Coreagaming are going to be looking for, but we will see after this next hit here. Charger, Jockey, Hunter, Spitter. So holding W was the right call for Aquilax, but now for the Special Infected, Elliot, they have an ideal hit for this situation.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically the same spot that Coreagaming were in. The first hit did, to be honest, a similar amount of damage, even though the Survivors kind of baited them by rushing forward. The key is how are they going to take this drop here into the tunnel. As you said, I think I've said it, this is probably the single biggest choke in the entire campaign. You can take a huge amount of damage here if you don't play it right as Survivor. Dina is dropped, does eat the charge, pretty much impossible to avoid. The Hunter covers, and then the Jockey, oh, that is a lot of damage.
This is exactly Yeah, and that's actually more damage. That's kind of what I was expecting to see happen on the last hit when it was Coreagaming on Survivor side, and they made the right play on SI there because they had a lot of patience. They let the Charger go first, allow the intercepts to land, and when the Charger took the jockey on the last half, it kind of prevented them from doing it. Now let's see if the tank holds W here. It's up in the hands of Anna for Coreagaming, and indeed the tank is going to be holding W. They are not going to be able to push outside Elliot, and that changes the complexion of this tank fight entirely.
Yeah, they are stuck underneath. Again, I don't think this is, this is not a disaster for Aquilax by any means. Fighting the tank down here, they've done it a lot of times, many times. They're going to be very used to kiting around that table. The generators at the end of the room are absolutely horrible to get around if you're a tank, and I'm sure the survivors know this. So there are definitely places to kite the tank out. I mean, I think it will simply come down to not eating a 3-cap. And Coreagaming weren't able to do it on their survivor side. They did eat the 3-cap. So we just have to see, can Aquilax shut down? Even just one spawn, I think, will be enough. This tank is up in the hands of Razor.
So Razor is going to have to push his way in. I think he is going to be doing that very soon with this room 3-cap. It's going to be Charger Jockey Hunter. Tank's going to look for that early corner, and Dina has already popped another set of pills before the tank goes in, which he is now. Look at that long arm punch going on to Coach. The jockey is in, and now he's out, but they have Discreet in the corner, and this tank has over 1,500 HP left, 1,800 as he turns around, and now it's going to be the 3-cap. The Hunter is going to land.
Pushing upstairs.
Tank is going for a punch. He's not going to land it. He gets a punch on the Coach. Charger's going to land. Tank is spreading the damage now, going for the in-cap, getting it onto Coach, but 2 survivors are still up, so far it is not going to be a wipe, and now the tank
Coach
is
might die.
Tank's going to be forced to play patiently here because he's trying to go for the kill onto Coach, but I don't think this is going to work because Rochelle is there. Exactly, so that was a very close to a death situation there from the Special Infected, but the most important thing for Aquilax is that they are alive. It looks as though they might be trying to go for a bit more damage on this as the boom lands, but DDA is going to pass those pills to Discreet, who's then going to pass them to Caution, I'm fairly sure, so that they can stay fast, and that's the big thing, and why we were so excited about Kane almost clutching that, Elliot, because now this is going to be at least distance points, plus the remainder of this bonus, 352 prior to the safe room so far, with only about a hit and a half left for Coreagaming to knock that number down.
Yeah, I mean, Aquilax are absolutely going to take the lead. They already have taken the lead in this map. Depending on the bonus they make, it could be 300-400 points. It looked a little shaky there. I mean, that was a very early corner that Razor got onto Discreet, but the survivors did a good job of kiting him actually up the stairs, and that meant that all of the spawns had to funnel in from behind. They'd already pre-spawned, and the survivors were able to shut them down.
Had that one Hunter that was able to land and get damage that way, and then the tank was able to... I thought he might have known to get a multi-punch there for a hot second, but instead, like you mentioned, the Charger and the Jockey were not in position to take that any further than it went, with the Hunter basically serving to set the tank up versus any kind of multi-cap going down. So it's 2 in-caps. This hit's coming in. Rochelle's going to get pulled forward. Hunter gets the intercept as well. It's a triple cap. Oh no. Well, that's the one thing that we said could not happen. 2 Team Aquilax. They shoot the car. Caution is also down. And that is going to take a decent chunk out of that bonus, at least for the moment, as the survivors now are going to get back up. They knock it down to 168 points. But with that said, Team Aquilax make the safe room with a total score of 664 to 303. So we see the triple cap landing by both teams, but in much different situations. One on the tank and one right there prior to the safe room. And that results in a tight match so far, Elliot. But now... this is not really a situation I see being too detrimental for Coreagaming, just because it is only over, 361 points. That is not a lead that you have to be too afraid of coming off of map 1. It's not like a 500 or 600 point lead that way. And now there's still 3 maps left to play with. This next doing a lot
the
worse
point difference is certainly not huge. The only thing I would be worried about for Coreagaming is they did actually get wiped 2 or 3 cap in an open area on the tank. I mean, that... I know the Coreagaming, they're very experienced players, they've got good heads on their shoulders, but if that was me, I wouldn't help but have that little thought in the back of my mind. It's like, we got 3 caps with a tank commit, that's we can't let that happen again, basically.
Yeah, it was a situation where there was a lot of separation between the survivors, because if that third survivor who gets jockeyed near the door is anywhere near, then he's able to prevent that from happening, but this is already live. The Charger goes in early, the Jockey as well. Smoker now is going to go and get a scratch, and then the Boomer's going to go in last to get a 3 boom, but we like the fast ready ups. I don't know about that hit though, Elliot, just because I don't know, maybe they wait until they're outside in some way, but I guess their idea was, let's kill the Charger first, get a spitter, this hit's not going to do a massive amount of damage anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely got the spawn rotation right. They killed the Charger Jockey first, so they're going to have a Charger Jockey, spitter, and I think a Hunter is this current hit. And if they hit early, there is a chance, as we saw, that they could hit while they were still inside the room. I think that was the logic, but Aquilax did a very good job at rushing.
Yeah, and this tank's actually going to be up in short order as well. Only 2% of the map left to go, and this actually might just be it.
Yeah, so Coreagaming don't send the hit in time.
Yeah. Looks as though so far, at least in terms of pacing, that Team Aquilax, notice like the back of their hands, Discreet is going to get charged just for a second there, but this tank in the hands of, air quotes, Prove, is now getting this cop car into play right over the globe into where the survivors are standing. I don't know here, Elliot. I think this is where the survivors are going to be able to kite this around as much as they want. All the toys coming into play, though, do make it look scary on the surface, but the tank needs to worry about not taking a massive amount of chip for this.
The sort of back area around that cafe and heading towards the street. As the 2-boom lands, I was going to say, it can be quite hard for the tank to get his hittables, but that is a really big boom. The survivors might just go all the way back here.
They are going to be forced to because Horde in this area is bad. And the tank has to be super wary of this because he is on 20% first pass. He should be able to climb up and maybe even intercept them if they go downstairs, but let's see. They're actually going to make their way back to the playground area first. It's going to be a Hunter, Smoker, and Jockey, so an ideal setup for this area, and there is actually a bit of common trailing, but it looks as though they're going to be delayed.
Straight in from in front.
Indeed he is. He's going to be right in as we see this happen. Hunter's going for an early pin, going to set up for him, throwing the rock onto Coach. That will be the corner and the in cap. Almost onto Caution, but he misses the punch as Caution is getting up. Now it's going to be the in cap. He's down to 400 HP. Smoker lands. Jockey's going for a rock. Is going to land. That's a double kill. That's going to be the wipe going out by Coreagaming onto Team Aquilax with 56 HP in the hands of quote-unquote Prove. Doesn't matter who he is because his team with 4 HP left on that tank managed to get that wipe. And Elliot, I was kind of looking at it, but when they went back, because the Horde was in front, it will not despawn, and you saw it come in so delayed on that.
Yeah, and that was, I think, why Jinman 4ZE committed in the way he did. But, Rails, they just needed literally one more shotgun shell, like 5 more Uzi bullets on the tank. Wow. He had 200 health. He got the rock onto Caution and then missed the first punch. Yeah. And then he needed another he needed the second punch, and then he needed a third punch because Caution still had about 5 health remaining. And I thought that this would be a very easily dead tank, but then the 2-cap lands and he gets the curve rock corner. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Amazing. Absolutely amazing recovery by Coreagaming. We talked about what that momentum first map might have meant, but now that Charger's going to whip. The Smoker pull did not make it in. The Boomer's on top of the door, getting double M2'd and then proxied into Nick for the 1-boom, but wow. That is the momentum shift I think that Coreagaming were looking for, and I'm not surprised that their Special Infected was able to do that whatsoever, along with that Boom Horde and everything, but it's their Survivor side now that really needs to, you know, not get themselves in a position where they can be separated and double capped in a way, and we've seen this happen now on 2 of the 3 full halves that we've played, and I'll be surprised to see it happen again, but with how both teams are playing on Special Infected, this is exactly my type of match so far. Spitter, Hunter, Jockey, and a Charger for this last pre-tank hit, which is coming in now, and there's the double cap going in, and the triple cap going in! I literally just said that's my favorite type of game when teams play like this on SI. That is a triple cap with the tank spawning up now, with Coreagaming's health getting absolutely annihilated, and this has been my one worry with Coreagaming so far from what I've seen from them in this playoffs, is that stuff like that on Survivor side happens. Obviously, they're playing against the best Special Infected teams in the world, and this tank in the hands of DDA is going to be working that same police car in after the Survivors have fired the gun to dislodge that other hittable. Elliot, this has been a wild match so far.
I just feel like every hit is just massive, and I don't even think the Survivor teams are playing particularly badly. You know, on an LA server, it's going to be a bit harder to shut down spawns, and I think the Infected on both teams are just looking so sharp right now.
That's a good shutdown, though. Kane getting another crucial boomer pop prior to a tank commit, and DDA now is going to be working this hittable in, but as we mentioned for for Z's tank on the other half, they have to be super careful about not taking a massive amount of chip, and that's exactly what Kane is looking for, it would seem, with that Uzi. Interesting to see him be playing Uzi in this spot as well to get some of that preliminary chip. If they go back now, though, they might be able to avoid this. That card goes flying right towards Kane's head, and I'll let you take it away, Elliot, because DDA is going to be moving this in right now.
He has got the hittable. I mean, this hittable is quite hard to work with. I don't know how hard he's going to want to focus on it. The survivors are they're chipping him for it, but he's got it just in front of the hump. I don't even know what to say. I mean, this hittable, it's just the luck of the draw sometimes. As
I don't like what he's doing
if it gets in properly.
Oh, okay, he's going to be down to
he's given 3K. Hittable, and he's going to get a corner on Nick. The hit comes in, but unfortunately the other spawns don't land. Is DDA going to decommit? It is!
Okay, that's kind of what I thought, because the comp cars in both those areas are hittable, so that car cleaves Coach in half, and the tank still has 1100 HP. They need to decide if they want to kill the tank or if they want to pick someone up right now, because the tank is standing there behind the other cop car, throwing a rocket. Rochelle not going to land, and they have another set of spawns coming up. Rochelle's going for the pickup, and this is what would need to be trolled in this scenario, but the tank is not going to be able to quite get it to happen yet. He's lining up this other hittable hit, however, which can helicopter into the survivors, and here it comes, bouncing towards Nick. Double boom is going to land. He's got the kill. He's got the kill, and he's not done because he has the survivors in that corner. The Hunting's going for Ellis. The cop cars are spinning around the pole. There's the clear. Rock goes on to Ellis, though, getting the corner on through almost, but he's going to die. What an insane tank fight there, Elliot. And the thing was, I'm not sure if Coreagaming knew that when they went that direction, that cop car obviously was hittable by the tank, but the one with the headlights in the opposite corner is not. If they kite back that other direction, they would have been fine, but the tank actually cut them off with one hittable on one side and pushed them back into that, and that results in the death.
Yeah, I mean, I scrimmed against Coreagaming on this very map. I know for sure that they know which cars are hittable and which ones aren't. I'm wondering the same thing as you. They kited towards that police car on the side that is hittable, and Rascal ends up eating it. And that's just the risk you take when you kite that way. DDA was able to play time, was able to get the kill, nearly get the wipe, but one death. And now, you know, with the way the Infected's been looking, a 3-cap here isn't going to be a lot of damage, Rails. A 3-cap here is a wipe.
Exactly, and the smoker is going to be going in to set up that jockey as the charger misses in the back, but this is going to in-cap Kane and send him black and white. And there's the smoker pull going on to Ellis as well. Everything landing once again. This situation, Elliot, where you have both teams playing with as high ping as they are, right? It's not the highest ping in the world, but when you're playing against teams of this caliber on it, the special infected, like you mentioned, every hit is doing some massive amount of damage, and there it's not the 3-cap, but it knocks Kane to black and white, and now they have to deal with this event and just hope they can hold W forward for distance points, really.
Yeah, I mean, the bonus is basically all gone. Bonus is at less than 100. I think there is 0% chance that Coreagaming make the map with any bonus. I think it's going to be very hard for them to make the map at all, as the 2-boom comes in. Charger Hunter and Spitter, so that it isn't a 3-cap, and the survivors... Are they going to go for a hit? Charger spawned.
Monk-ass, they're inside a room, and there goes the spit! I really thought that was going to do more, but they are being saved by that keyboard and mouse that they are standing on top of in that corner. That's going to be the in-cap on to Ellis, and now the spitter's going to go into Troll. Everyone is going to be, and actually that's spit spreading onto Kane too a bit, and there's the smoker pull onto Rochelle! Okay, I liked the idea of this room because they're trying not to get wiped, and now the spawns are down, so they're not going to die, obviously, but Kane with 32 HP, black and white, is going to have to start working his way forward. They know there's going to be another hit maybe coming around this corner, but Kane's going to push all the way forward. Single boom goes onto Rochelle. They're just trying to stay alive as much as they can right here, and they actually are in front of the Horde now, too.
They are in front of the Horde. With the single boom going out, the non-boom survivors don't have to worry about common as much. Jockey's in front. Nice. Skeet by Prove in quotation marks, but that's a death.
Okay,
it's not going to be enough.
Rochelle should just go, and I think that's exactly what she's going to be doing right now to get this game even closer. It's going to be just about 100 points going into map 3, depending on how far Rochelle goes with this ping before she dies, but she's actually going to kite back to the office first. Jockey's going to go in, and the Jockey is getting force-fielded from Rochelle that way, so the Common can finish the job. Yeah, but this is such a tight match. 848 to 731, low-scoring, absolute slugfest that we're seeing here, Elliot.
My goodness, yeah. I mean, this particular map, in my opinion, and it's very easy for us to say as the analyst, the armchair analysts, this
Exactly.
map is not hugely hard for survivors. So both teams wiping there. I'm not sure what the mental is going to be like on either team, but I think Coreagaming in particular are going to be quite disappointed. They were able to get a wipe, which they absolutely needed to secure the comeback, but then really weren't able to get enough done on Survivor. They narrowed the gap somewhat, but I think they would have been expecting, full distance plus 400 or 500 bonus. Instead, they only made sort of 3/4 distance, if that.
Yeah, I see what you're
And
saying.
Aquilax hold the lead.
And we're going to be live here right now. This Hunter's going to go in, managing to land onto Nick with a spit going down for a little bit of damage, but Nick was out of it because he was on top of that counter. Boomer going in last, going to get M2'd and shut down. The tank is at 31%, so it's another close area tank. I don't know, with the nature of how this has been so far, with both teams playing out of their minds on Special Infected, I think at this point what they should be doing is adjusting to the fact that, okay, it's not going to be one of those, like, oh, we're going to score 3,000 points or 4,000 points on this. It's going to be, we have to get everything we possibly can on Survivor side and then keep playing SI the way they have been. This is a quad attempt, though, by Coreagaming with that Charger, Hunter, Smoker, and Jockey. And the Jockey's already bouncing around in front, trying to make some distraction here. Hunter going in, going to land, Jockey lands! The Charger's up too. I think the Charger whipped the spawn, but he's going in for the cover, landing onto Dina. That looked bad for a second there, Elliot, but that Charger was not able to get in.
Yeah, the 3-cap landed almost perfectly in sync, but you're right, the Charger was late, might have missed his spawn. I thought that was it for a terrifying second.
At this point, like I said, with how well both teams have been playing on SI, seeing a quad would just absolutely bring everything together, but the tank is up in the hands of SCal right here. 144 ping for him going into this. We saw a bit of a long arm come out by both teams on previous tanks. This room, I don't know if I'd rather commit with a Boomer or a 3-cap for it, but obviously Boomer's landing in an area like this is something that Team Aquilax are going to look to prevent from happening with every single ounce of positioning that they can.
Yeah, I mean, Boomer here is fantastic if you can land it. If you can't, then you may as well not have a spawn at all. They do land a 1, but I think with the other spawns dead, the tank is not going to commit. The common will all be dead before the next set of spawns are up.
Interesting choice by the tank here as well, because he knows he's going to get pushed just a little bit for this. He's curving the rocks around the corner, not going to land it, and he's on 60% second pass, so he's going to have to commit before his spawns are all the way up. He's going to throw one more rock at Coach's face. It's not going to land. He's going to have a smoker for this as well. I would prefer to see the Charger, Hunter, Jockey, but it's going to be Charger, Hunter, Smoker instead. Here we go. Smoker's going in for a pull, managing to land it onto Coach. Tank is going to switch targets onto Nick, and he's caught in the ceiling. The Smoker is still in. The Hunter's going to land Charger wave. There's the triple cap, and the tank is almost lost for a second. Going for Nick. He's going to get the in cap. Coming back around, there is no clear.
How much health the tank has?
There's no clear on the Charger. The tank has 3.5k HP, throwing a rock around the corner. He can just wait for the Charge Survivor to die. Going back in, getting a punch onto Ellis, getting another punch onto Coach. This is absolute insanity because it's what we were talking about. The slugfest. Coreagaming getting the in cap onto Coach, turning back around. SCal doing absolute work, saying you can 3-cap us and we can 3-cap you. Jockey lands and that's the wipe.
Oh, that's such a shame.
What the hell? This is insane. This is insane.
Woo. I mean, it was just the smoke in front was able to get the separation, and then the Hunter Charger land the 2-cap. It was almost just a clean wipe then and there. The last side was able to get A clear, and that allowed Coach and Ellis, I think that was Caution and DDA, to reset and try and make something out of it. And to their credit, I think they played it absolutely perfectly. As the last two survivors, they knew they had to push the tank. The problem was the tank had nearly 4,000 health left. There was just nothing to do.
He had 3.3k with 2 survivors on the floor. That is not a situation any survivor team can reasonably recover from in an area where there's no room to kite like that. And now this is Coreagaming's game to lose at this point. The Hunter is going to land onto Rochelle for a split second with a little bit of despot. The Boomer's going to die, and I don't know. I have to tell you, Elliot, having casted deep into tournaments like this, especially in RBTs and internationals in that way, usually in the semifinals you're expecting some kind of high-scoring game, but I don't know if I've ever seen two teams play Special Infected better against each other in a match like this than I have today. This has been incredible to witness.
I'm almost lost for words. These are two teams that are, in my opinion, very strong on Survivor, and they are just getting absolutely clapped every tank fight with really well-synced 3-caps.
Exactly. And that's going to be the tank spawning up into the hands of Dina for Team Aquilax, as that did not do a whole amount of damage, rather, onto the survivors. I was looking at my tab because I do believe Ellis is still 5 punches at this point, and Coach is going to be right at that 96 HP threshold, but...
Yeah, Ellis is the only one on 5 punches. I think all the rest are on 4.
What SI are you looking for this? Because do you think it's absolutely imperative that Aquilax need to get a wipe? I think it almost is.
I mean, I think if they don't get a wipe, they need to do a huge amount of damage, so much that the survivors won't make save for them.
Yeah, because
so I would probably be playing for a 3 cap, and I don't think you want a smoker in this area. Coreagaming made it work in there with the smoker in the last round, but I think smoker is weaker than all of the other SI, generally speaking, in this area specifically.
I agree with you there 100%, because this map on Survivor side is very easy to make after this tank is dead. Let's see if Dina can bring another wipe into this equation down to just about...
They do have a smoker.
4.5K. Indeed they do. The Survivors are cutting into this part of the map, which is amazingly interesting, because now it's going to be down to 600 HP, but he's clearing things. This is an absolute mess, but he's dead! Oh my goodness. Coreagaming says... What did we just watch? What?
Did I see that right? Was that a quad punch?
Yes, and then it was, but then the survivors brought out their melee weapons, and they were just like, you know what? We're not gonna get 3 cap because we go stand in the corner, take the quad punch, and kill the tank. When he landed that punch, he had 600 HP because the survivors were absolutely melting him that entire time, and that strat is what is going to give Coreagaming the lead with all the survivors still alive right here on the second half of map 3. The upset is real at this point because... Yeah,
I mean, the quad punch landed, it was good damage, but Rails, that was not a single in-cap. All 4 survivors still have perm health. This is 100% DB. Over 700 bonus for Coreagaming.
Yeah, that was a brilliant strategy, I would say, because on paper you're like, wait, what? But then, because they managed to get the surprise of going to a spot that you don't usually see Survivor teams take something, they managed to get the better of Team Aquilax on that, and they are now using that momentum, because as you mentioned, Elliot, no in-caps, that hit gets shut down, and I think the momentum is squarely in Team Coreagaming's favor at this point, just as they continue pushing. I mean, they're going to be bleeding this entire time, so they can try to staunch the bleeding on SI, but if they make this map with bonus, as I said, then they would have to get a wipe on that first of 2 tanks or some kind of death charge on the finale for Team Aquilax to make any kind of comeback, and that's not the map that I usually bet on, like I mentioned at the top of the cast.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of pretty nasty chokes up ahead when you're inside the building with a spit specifically, but there are not many hits left. If Coreagaming go, and I'm almost certain they will, because they're a very solid team and that's how they play their Survivor, there's maybe 4 hits left. 3, maybe 4. And Aquilax have a lot of bonus they need to reduce.
They do, and they have a quad that they honestly could sit here and wait on this quad while the survivors bleeding all the way down to slow, because if they can get 2 of them slow, it's much easier to land the SI, especially on this ping. That might be the strategy that they're using now, because we are going to see survivors push their way forward towards this grate. It's going to be the quad cap attempt.
This is a quad? Yeah. Oh, but they're in!
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
The survivors have rushed all the way in!
Oh, they're going to land! They're going to land 3 of them! That's a triple cap! Jockey's going for coach, but he can't land! What am I watching? What am I? That was Left 4 Dead 2 physics at its absolute finest, but the SI continues to be what makes this game what it is in 2022. That was almost a quad. That was like a double charge. There was no spit, and there's 2 in caps. Elliot?
I thought there was no chance that anything landed. The survivors had already gotten inside. The charge somehow gets in and lands a triple charge, I think it was.
I don't know how, but it did. This is absolutely wild. The boomer is gonna spawn up. Charger's gonna whiff this time though.
Unfortunately.
Okay, Jockey lands, however, onto Kane for an in-cap. This is an absolute bloodbath, as it has been this entire match, and the spit is spreading onto Coach, but not Ellis, and then they jump through it for a bit more damage. This is still to the point where the comeback is possible, but Aquilax absolutely are going to need to kill them now before they keep getting the distance points that they are almost. And we do have one survivor who is black and white, that being Kane. Everyone's slow. It's going to be a Boomer, Charger, Smoker, Hunter, so no spitter for this area. They're looking for at least 2 hits out of this now.
The next hit's coming in. Oh, okay, they do clear the Charger, but that is more damage coming out. The smoke lasted quite a while. Charger got a couple of scratches. Bonus is down to 100 rails. Kane, as you said, black and white, 14 HP. I'd be very surprised if he sees the save room.
I would be as well, but he's holding W like he wants to be there. Now he's backing off, going upstairs. We'll see exactly where the survivors decide to take this. Kane actually wants to go all the way to the top, which I think is a good idea, because now he's going to be able to go right through this vent. Rochelle is at 1 HP. It's a smoker, hunter, spitter, and a jockey, so it is certainly possible for this to be the wipe, especially with the spit at this point, but this 400-point lead being protected now by Team Coreagaming has come just through distance points. Coach is going to dodge the spit as he's going to jump on top of the railing looking to go up this ladder, but there's Kane dead!
No, Kane! That's unlucky. The spit was miles away and it ticked him with the last tick.
Oh no, Coach is going to go falling down the ladder, Ellis is going to get incapped, and Rochelle's going to get incapped. There's the wipe. So in a game, Elliot, where we have seen more wipes than safe rooms made by a fair number, it's 1419 to 995 in favor of Coreagaming going into map 4.
I mean, if you told me that this was the scoreline between these two teams after 3 whole maps, I don't care what server you're playing on, I don't care what campaign it is, I don't care if these guys have 500 ping each, I would not believe that the scores are this low. This is absolutely shocking to me.
I just absolutely love the SI cohesion from both teams. Maybe at the start when I was talking, because Team Aquilax's SI has been what's kept them in this game. Their survivor has been limited to under 1. This is the true stat line, right? Aquilax's survivor has been limited to under 1k points through 3 maps. That's insane.
And 650 of those points came on map 1.
Map 1, exactly. That is completely wild. Caution's going to have this first tank, and I firmly believe that they, in a game like this, they need to get the wipe immediately. Like,
I mean, I think you said it at the start. First rule of Dice Scrapers, the hit goes in. The Hunter does land, and some spit damage. Oh, get out of there. Alright, Kane takes a little bit of damage, but not too bad. Sorry, as I was saying, at the start of this whole cast, you said it, Rails, you cannot rely on the finale for a comeback. 400 points, I would say, is the absolute upper limit. 500 points, absolute upper limit of what you can reasonably expect to do on this finale, and that basically means you wipe the other team on the first tank and you make full distance.
Exactly, because it still is 800 distance points, but the reason that stayed 800 distance points over so many years is because of those 2 tanks. There is going to be a jockey and a charger up for this, however. This could spell disaster if they manage to get this to work, but Kane doing an amazing job of baiting back down the ladder. All the SI, however, do have full HP, so there was the trade, and actually, the Smoker's now getting chipped just a bit. They need to not eat a death charge here. That's all they really need to do on Survivor side to at least keep this in full control on their side of things, and I think Kane is aware of this. They're baiting out every single common. They're going to send him up the ladder with the shoddy first, and then they need to clear the smoker.
There's now a spitter, Rails.
Oh, there
spitter
is, and there's
really brutal.
Oh, the spit's going to go nothing!
Oh dear, the survivors were able to kite it out, actually.
Yeah, they just played as patient as possible and kited back down the ladder,
Kane
and the
did
smoker
a really
goes
good
in.
job baiting the tongue.
Yeah, Charger's dead too, yeah. That was the perfect survivor play, and this is Team Coreagaming showing how they've pushed so far in this tournament and how they're pulling off this upset that we're watching right now. This is going to be, I don't know, do you start going for quads at this point if you're on Aquilax's side of things?
I mean, with the way that the 3 caps have been landing, I think you'd be foolish not to. You need a wipe here. I think that's pretty much guaranteed. You'll need a wipe before the survivors make it to the chopper.
Yeah.
They've killed the boom. But I'm not quite sure what this is. They've killed the boom, and now they're going to send a hit afterwards. They do land a good hit.
No. Yeah, that's going to be Ellis being caught up there on the boxes with spit going down on top of that. But here's the issue for Team Aquilax. Just by merit of being alive with this health, Coreagaming are still getting those points, and I believe this first of 2 tanks spawns in another like 200 points or something. So we were talking about already, but this is going to force them to make the map on Survivor side when they have not made a map since map 1. That's been the sole safe room we've seen made by either team on map 1, and now Coreagaming are in the position where they don't even need to make one at all. They just need to keep doing this. There, indeed it is. Jockey's going to land after the smoker gets cleared. Charger whiffs. Boomer gets a 1 boom. And this is looking more and more like Coreagaming doing the best that they possibly can just to stay on their feet and then saying, okay, let's just bring this home with the SI side of things, because that's been what's won them this match so far. No. Not a foregone conclusion,
there's a fair bit of damage gone out onto, I keep wanting to say Prove, onto 4ZE. but it's not enough. You absolutely need the wipe here, and I think Aquilax know it, so it's all going to rest on this first tank up in the hands of Caution. It should be spawning really any second now.
Think it's going to be. There might be one more attempt at a hit. Let's see if they send it. Indeed, they do. Hunter is going to go and landing on the coach for just a split second, and that is going to be the tank.
Caution, who will be the tank, yeah.
I think they could have gotten away with maybe one more full hit here, but nevertheless, the tank is going to be up into the hands of Caution, like we just mentioned, and he needs this wipe desperately, because it's 1,707 points that Team Coreagaming are stalled at. If they manage to wipe them here, that would mean full distance would win Team Aquilax the game, but it's all in the hands of Caution right here. I remember Caution playing competitive back on Salmon Catchers. He's been in this community forever when it comes down to everything, and if there's one player for Team Aquilax who they want to get this wipe, it's him.
He is he's the team captain for Aquilax, so it's all resting on his shoulders here to make this wipe happen. Oh, but he's just not getting the hittable to behave.
Hopefully he doesn't warp himself through the window accidentally,
yeah,
because
that would be such a tragedy.
I've seen that happen in an unnamed playoff match before, where that's just like the worst thing you could possibly have, because this is the one shot at a comeback that they're looking for. Let's see if he knocks it into play. Still not getting in there for him, though. Now it's rolling to a position where it's close, and now it's going to be in the full area. This is the commit for everything right here. Jockey, Smoker, Charger, with Caution now being forced to give up on the hittable, getting a punch onto Rochelle, turning back around onto Kovac, missing a punch. Indeed he has. Charger lands, Smoker lands. That's going to be the clear. Rock is going to miss, and this is looking as that
He's missed again.
He did. That Charger landed for a second, but the tank missed. That's a dead tank.
Me. Caution. Missing two key punches. He let the survivors get out of the corner. He had, I think it was Rochelle and one other in the sort of cafe corner back there, and both of them ran past him. Missing a few key punches.
That's just not what you want to see in a situation like that. He took about, I think, 1,200 chip trying to get the hittable in, and it just was not working for him that way. And then when he tried to herd the survivors, he got a punch onto Rochelle. If he had actually pursued Rochelle there, he might have been able to get the down. There is a punch, or not a punch, rather a pounce going on to Coach. My head's still on the tank because he hit Rochelle, right? She got caught on that like window frame. If he'd gone after her and cornered her, that would have been one thing, but he made the play where he turned around trying to get the punch onto Coach, and when he missed that and the survivors got away, even though that Charger was able to land, there was no chance at a multi-cap at this point because they were too close together, so that's just not what you need.
Just looked like to be honest, it looked like he's panicked a little bit. He even picked up a rock after that, then missed the rock, and rough stuff for Aquilax. I mean, if there's any hope at all, the next tank has to wipe. I mean, the Coreagaming have way too much bonus at this point.
Indeed they do. Charger's gonna land though. Yep, next to a pounce. Oh, it's gonna land on the Kane, and then he's gonna make his way out of it. They have 4 sets of pills on them. I don't know if they have any left down below. I'm checking the office.
They have one more left below.
Okay, yeah, so they have 5 sets of pills to get through this. If they're on their feet whatsoever after this tank, it's immediate GG. DDA needs to get the wipe that Team Aquilax is looking for here, because it's almost 1k points already. Let's see what he's able to do, because the tank is going to be up for him underneath the survivors. And I don't know, this Boomer's not going to get much of anything either. Maybe they're going for the 3 cap on it too, but the survivors now have license to kite him exactly where they want him to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to have to play for the 3 cap. Yeah. And for what we've been seeing, that's not a bad idea.
DDA is going to be positioning himself now above the survivors, not taking any chip. It's going to be a Smoker, a Hunter, and one more spawn coming into queue soon. Let's see exactly where that gets them, because it's going to be the Smoker, Hunter, and Jockey, so it's the open field 3 cap. If he wants to go in with this, he obviously can, but all the survivors have popped their pills. You actually see Coach and Ellis popping all the way to where they're almost 5 punches. Obviously they're going to bleed, but it's going to require
all of the survivors know. All they have to do is just kill this tank. So they've used every set of pills they have.
That's the right call, because they've got the momentum at this point. They've got Team Aquilax right where they want them, and let's see if DDA is able to keep the dream alive to stop this upset from happening. He's going to be working his way over to where the hittable is by taking only about 800 chip. He's going to knock it into the center of the pool, but Nick is getting away from him. He went for the punch. Now the hittle goes over his team survivors on the side. Oh my goodness, DDA keeping the dream alive. The Jockey lands, and there is your wipe. So it's still possible. The SI coming out once again. That double hittable hit with that ball was incredible. Now
DDA gets the hittable in. I mean, look, we should give some credit to Caution. He's used a lot of time and a lot of his health to get the hittable into the cafe area. So it was set up for DDA, so we can give him some credit on his tank. Unfortunately, it didn't get much else done.
Yeah.
And then DDA played it really well. You get it into the pool, and the survivors, in my opinion, if the ball is in the pool, the survivors have to leave. You have to go over to the ammo area, because exactly that can and will happen if you try and cut around the edge.
Listen, I've seen some incredible comebacks in competitive Left 4 Dead 2 over the years. This would be a huge one for Team Aquilax, because with how this SI side has gone for both teams so far, with just wipe after wipe coming out in different areas, they need to make what would be the second safe room of this semifinals match, basically, to win this, and they would need to make more points on this map than they've had so far. It's doable.
They need to more than double their score. It is definitely doable. They need to make it with, if my math's correct, about 180 bonus. So just a little under 200 bonus.
They just got to make the map, and this is where they got to put the other 3 chapters completely out of their heads and just be like, let's make this map right here. Charger's gonna spawn, nice bait going out by DDA in that first position. Everything chipped, and they know every single hit means something here. Hunter is going to get blown out of the sky. I think this is actually a bit overzealous by Team Coreagaming. They could have waited just a bit more. They're going to have the Charger die, and now they're going to send the jockey in last, basically 1 by 1 instead.
Yeah, I mean, they kill the spit a second, so they will have another spit, but there won't be a charge.
Yeah, I mean, on the SI side, you don't have a massive amount of pressure because you know you have 2 tanks. But you also don't want to let that just allow you to send hits that don't make as much sense as they should. Because in that situation, we saw how well Coreagaming baited Team Aquilax last map, and in that spot, DDA did the exact same thing right back at them. And now it is a 2-2, which has some kind of damage capacity, but I don't think you're really going to be...
they're playing Rails.
They are. They're playing as slow as they need to.
I don't think I've seen Aquilax play this slow in a long time. I mean, it's working out. That's not too much damage, and then they're going to take the ladder.
Yeah, well, and the fact that they're playing that slow, this is for all the marbles in terms of who's going to stay in the tournament or not, because the loser of this game is going to be heading home. Like, that's the pressure thing.
It makes sense, but it kind of concerns me. I know Aquilax as this very aggressive survivor, go, W key team, and they just look completely different. It looks like they're lacking a bit of the confidence. I mean, it kind of makes sense. They haven't had the best past few...
Oh, this is bad. That's going to be damage going out onto Ellis. Bad for Aquilax, I should say. That's a good hit from Coreagaming. Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, where you want to see teams, like, stay in whatever form presents their strongest parts as a squad. And for Aquilax, it's a go-go squad. Like, they're literally... Caution's the person who almost invented the just want to go-go thing, right? Like, that
is literally his name.
Right?
When he's not tagged as Caution, it is just want go-go.
Yeah. And the thing is... I think in this position, because they're in the spot they are playing as cautious. It's so ironic that way, where his name's Caution, but he plays I just want to go at the same time, right? But this is going to be a smoker pole going out onto Ellis. I think it's really important to note, too, though, that this isn't really a map where you see the teams moving a whole lot. It's just hits and then the tanks that we're going to be... seeing determine the game. It's not necessarily even the pacing of the survivors. It's going to come down to how well they kite together, and we saw Coreagaming do that on map 3 in an incredible way. But in order for them to win this, I think the reason you see them switching their style just a bit is because they need to maximize those pills, they need to maximize their health, and they need to make it with just some bonus. So
yeah, you can't afford to have any early bleeding survivors, because this is such a long map with 2 tanks.
Exactly. It's going to be a Charger, Hunter, Jockey, and a Smoker for this quad attempt from Team Coreagaming. Jockey and Charger coming from the front. Smoker pull goes out to Ellis. Charger is going to whiff onto Rochelle, but then that is a double cap landing with the Jockey and the Hunter. 3 punches, 4 punches. Dina just got annihilated, and that was actually so much damage, Elliot. Look at their health.
Yeah, that was rough. I'm not quite sure. The clears just seemed to be a bit slow. The Charger missed, but then the 2 cap landed and the smoke as well. And then even though the Charger didn't land, he was able to get 4 punches. That's more than 1 tank punch.
It is, and the tank is up now in the hands of Kane, who is the one member of Team Envy who is real on Coreagaming's roster that way. Not proved, but this is Kane. And he's going to be
in my opinion, Kane's tanks are absolutely nasty. The number of times I have been absolutely schooled by a Kane tank in a scrim, it's higher than I can count, let's put it that way. So if anyone can do it for Coreagaming, I'd say it's him.
Exactly, and he's going to be careful about two big things here. The first one is when he's hitting this hittable, he doesn't want to get warped out the window, but then number two, if it's not working for him, I don't expect to see him take a massive amount of chip for it, because the other tank might be able to get it in play just as well, which is kind of what we saw happen with Caution and DDA's tanks on Team Aquilax's side, and right now, the hittable is not working for him whatsoever.
He's not taking really any chip. He's only taking 30 chip.
Yeah, if it's going to be if he can get it through this window here. He's taken some chip for it now, but as you mentioned, it really hasn't been consequential yet. He's on 60% second pass. It's a smoker, charger, and a jockey. He has to be so careful here, and he actually hasn't gotten in. The survivors are rotating away from him.
Gone. This might be AI.
No, if they go back over the top, it will be actually. Charger's gonna go in, going to land on. No, it's not. No, it's not. He's right there.
He's gonna get
gonna land. Oh yeah, that's gonna be the in cap going on to DDA and one more punch. There is still a smoker in play as well. Tank is jumping in, missing a punch, and he's gonna decommit with just about 3,500. Rock is not gonna land, but so far it's only one in cap, so this is still obviously heavily in the realm of possibility. Kane has decommitted the tank. He's down to 2,500 HP. Let's see what they do with the rest of this, because they are in full bleed with one survivor. They have one set of pills left on the counter, and there is still another tank in the hands of someone for Coreagaming. This one is not over yet either, because I think we're going to see a quick recommit from Kane. And indeed we are. He's going to have 2,000 HP by the time he gets anywhere close to the survivors, and the hit's going to have to be helping him like right now. Hunter's going to go and land on the coach. Tank gets a punch on the coach. Double boom lands, another punch going on to coach. Hunter only now getting cleared. That's going to be an in-cap. Kane missing a punch onto Rochelle, but that in-cap is huge, Elliot, because that's going to put one survivor, that being Caution, into that full bleeding range for the second time. He's black and white. If they kill him, that would win the match, I think, for Coreagaming.
No, I don't think he is black and white. There was one in cap on DDA, one in cap on Caution.
Okay,
so there's no black and white yet, but you're right. I mean, there is two full bleeding survivors, yeah.
Believe it or not, in a situation like this where you have now two survivors in full bleed and they have 4 sets of pills left, 2 on them, 2 downstairs, right? Or am I lying?
Only one downstairs, right?
I'm lying again.
3 sets of pills left. And the charge lands, and the spit!
This is not good.
Bonus check, 500, 400, 420. I mean, they have 3 sets of pills. They will have to pop every single set for the survivors to only be fast. That will reduce the bonus down to about 300, I'd say, maybe even a bit less. Okay. Basically, this last tank needs to be a no-hitter.
And the thing that's actually worse, right? If they had had one survivor black and white, that could have been a kill from the SI. But instead, now you've got 2 survivors who are fully bleeding here and only 2 sets of pills left, and there's another hit going in. As we're going to see the jockey land, Charger whiffs. That is going to be a single boom onto Rochelle.
The street. That's a third bleeding survivor.
Yep, they're going to have one person, because now they have no pills left downstairs, they're going to have one person perma-slow for this tank fight. And I honestly, if I'm Coreagaming with this tank, even if they were to bot the tank for whatever reason, what I would be like is we're just literally going to put the tank above them, bleed them out as long as humanly possible, and then commit with whatever you need to either get somebody black and white or just eliminate the bonus, because distance points are not enough for Team Aquilax to win this game.
Oh, dearie me, Rails. I think this is it. I think it is all over. As this next hit lands as well, more damage onto Coach, and that might just be it then and there. There, it actually is. The bonus is down to 150 in Rails.
That's it.
That's
game. I do believe that's
it's a little bit anticlimactic, but that is it.
Yeah, it's going to be so close coming down to it. The tank is up in the hands of Escal for Coreagaming, but it has been an absolute heavyweight fight in these playoffs. Absolutely amazing special infected from both teams, and for Team Aquilax, it's a bit of a heartbreak, which I'm pretty sure we'll talk about in a second when this officially ends. But for Coreagaming, they came through and did what they needed to do on Survivor side on map 3 just to survive that one tank. But their special infected has been it's about to be top 3 worthy because of how they've played today.
Yeah, I mean, both teams had some questionable survivor plays, but I would say generally, I would say it is more the fact that there has been better infected, particularly on the past 2 maps, on map 2 and 3. I think generally it has just been really good infected, and Coreagaming were just the better of 2 strong teams.
Exactly, and it happened in a way that I don't think would have been predictable at all to start, with neither team breaking the 2,000 point barrier there. And as I mentioned before, this is just Coreagaming with this tank, bleeding them out as much as they possibly can. And he's even going to be throwing more rocks around this corner. Smoker, Hunter, Jockey still to come for the SI hit as the tank is going to commit, as this will be the last tank of the match. Smoker pull does go onto Rochelle. There's the in-cap punch going out onto Nick. Tank is now focusing his attention on someone else. Hunter going in, going to land onto Coach, and there's a tank punch going out onto Ellis. Hunter only now gets clear, but that's going to be the in-cap going out onto Caution as well. And that is how Team Coreagaming push their way into the top 3 of RBT6 with a huge upset over Team Aquilax on Die Scraper Redux, 1,963 to 1,539 Elliot.
Wow, what a game that was. I'll be honest here, Rails, I was a little bit concerned. A bit of backstory for you. I maybe should have mentioned this at the start. We know that Prove isn't playing. Prove has basically, I think, stopped playing recently. He's had some real life stuff happening. So one of the key players, Prove, has not been playing. Similarly, Kane has also been quite busy, I know, this week in particular, so hasn't been scrimming a lot. So Coreagaming did come into this match a little bit underpowered, losing one player and having Kane not scrim a lot, but they showed up in the ways that that mattered. They didn't have the strongest survivor play, but they're infected. I mean, limiting Aquilax to 1,500 points on 4 maps of Die Scraper, that's phenomenal, and they deserve the win.
Exactly. So that is how we do see Team Coreagaming advancing to, like we said, the top 3 in that way. And for Team Aquilax, it's super unfortunate for them because, as we mentioned, they've been one of the teams who have been just the most consistent in the scene overall. Obviously not the performance that they were looking for today when it came to a couple of those situations, but it was so close on map 2 even as well when that tank, when the tank was still standing and the survivors were down, he had 4 health left. Like, that's how close this has been as a match between these two sides. Yeah.
Crazy close. And now we have the very real possibility of seeing a Coreagaming WTF is Spongy rematch. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw the match between those two teams on Dark Carnival, the home and the away. I would say to any viewers who haven't seen the Coreagaming Frag 4 home and away, I think that was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago now. Fantastic match. Really, really close between 2 high-tier teams. And if we do see a replay of that match, I'm very excited. I'm all for it.
Exactly, same here. So that's going to be the first half of our doubleheader for this afternoon being completed. We are going to be bringing you the second half of that with teams Where the Fuck is Spongy and also Cat Jam playing in just about 40 minutes,
be about,
I think, from now.
I think, yeah, 35, 40 minutes from now.
Exactly. So are you going to be joining us for that as well, Elliot, or...?
I would love to, yes.
All right, so then we will actually be back with that match then a little while from now. I'm still just like, after all that special infected play, I'm sitting here like, holy shit, that was a match. That's my current mental state. But I think we're going to just thank everyone for watching that first game. If you couldn't tell, this is the stage of the tournament where things are getting ultra intense with that top 3 now being decided. And now we're going to see between these 2 squads coming up who will play Coreagaming in that losers bracket final. I believe that would be the next one that we'll see. But thank you to all of the fans of competitive Left 4 Dead 2, all the viewers, Krychev for obviously streaming this, Elliot for co-casting that match, Sir Please and Cedapug both for the work they do for the community. Do you have any shout-outs, Elliot, before we take a quick break before that second match?
Just one shout out, and that is shout out to you, Rails. Thank you for doing a fantastic job casting, and for, of course, setting up this fantastic RBT6 tournament. You, Fig, Alexi, and the entire mod team, admin team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so with that said, we will be back very shortly to see that Matt Veto / Matt ban. We'll know exactly when that's starting, but for right now, I'm going to quick take a step away from the computer. Thank you again for watching this, and we will be back very, very shortly with that second half.
See you soon, guys.